Hello everybody and welcome to Mother Rabbit's Kitchen. Today we are making French onion soup with some really yummy sandwiches to go with it. I've got lots of onions. I'm actually going to use some homemade chicken stock. I've got 2.5 quarts of chicken stock here, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that and how to make that in a second. But I'm going to beef it up by adding this better than bouillon beef because onion soup is traditionally made with beef broth. And then instead of using alcohol, I'm just going to use some apple cider vinegar, and that comes out really, really well. And then I just grabbed some old bread and a roll to make some croutons and some really good gruyere. And it's kind of like a Panera style. You know how Panera does the croutons and the grated gruyere on top? I actually really love that, so I'm going with that style. It's just kind of simple. And I've got some butter in my Dutch oven, ready to get lots of onions chopped up and in there. When I was a kid, we had such an amazing restaurant in our town called Cricket's. And it had the best French onion soup I've ever had. So we would go there for any special occasion, birthdays, people in town, and we would just all order the French onion soup. And it was just basically like 50% cheese, and it had that, torched, like broiled cheese on top, and it was just the most delicious thing. So I've been raised on French onion soup, and then as I got older and moved away and I didn't get to go to Cricket's as much, I would have French onion soup at other restaurants, and it would always be not as good. And I actually found that Panera French onion soup wasn't that bad, and it was nothing compared to Cricket's, but it held me over, and I liked dipping sandwiches in it. And so anyway, I am chopping up tons of onions here, probably about 8 or so medium onions, and I'm just going to sweat them. That just means cook them kind of low and slow in a Dutch oven, and stir them occasionally until they cook down, they get brown, and they almost turn into like an onion paste. Okay, so here is where I'm going to show you a little bit about making homemade chicken stock. So what I have here is a freezer bag that I just put scraps in. Celery, onion scraps, and I just throw it in the freezer, and then the next time I roast a chicken, usually for, if I'm making chicken salads, if I roast 1 or 2 chickens, I just take the bones after I take all the meat off, and I throw it in a pot with all of those vegetable scraps, onions, carrots, celery, whatever you have. And then I just cover everything with water and simmer that for hours and hours, and then discard all of the bones and all that stuff, and then just save the stock, and then you have homemade chicken stock for free. So I am just getting my croutons ready to go in the oven. I've sliced up cubed up all of my bread. I'm spraying it with some olive oil, and then salting it well, and then putting some pepper on it. And of course, I'm also going to use a little bit of garlic powder. You've probably seen me make croutons a bunch of times on here. I use croutons in a lot of things, I'm noticing. It feels like every video I have, I'm making croutons for something. So these croutons are going to go on top of the soup, and then the cheese is going to rest on top. I will say that I found that my sandwich bread croutons kind of absorbed the soup very quickly and turned a little bit mushy. So I think next time I will do sourdough bread croutons to kind of hold up against that hot soup, because I don't like when they completely dissolve and you're just kind of eating like really mushy bread. But it did the trick for now. So I just go back and stir my onions a little bit. I'm making kind of like a flavored mayo to go on these grilled cheese sandwiches that I'm making. So I just grabbed whatever I had in my pantry and fridge. So I have this gochujang sauce that I bought a while ago to replicate one of Andrew's favorite sandwiches from back home in Florida. And I threw that in there. It's kind of like a chili, like a spicy. It's not really that spicy, but it's got a good like kind of Asian flavor. So I threw some of that in there. And then I am grabbing some sun-dried tomatoes. I've had these in my pantry for a while. I've kind of avoided using them because I'm not crazy about the fact that it is sitting in probably a mix of seed oils. And so I just kind of drain them as much as possible on a paper towel. And the next time I buy those sun-dried tomatoes, I'll probably get them from Country Life Natural Foods because they have them without any oil at all. And I'm just seasoning it a little bit with salt. And I just added a little bit of honey to give it a little extra zing. Make sure you taste it to make sure it's perfect. And I'm stirring up the onions as they are cooking down. They're getting nice and brown and soft. That's what we want. Now I'm just going to grate up some cheese. I'm going to use this gruyere not only to top the croutons on the soup, but I'm also going to use it as some cheese on my pressed sandwiches. I called them grilled cheeses before, and I guess you could say that they are. We are grilling some cheesy sandwiches, but it is going to have other things in it as well. So it's more like a pressed sandwich, kind of like like almost like a panini, but I'm using sourdough. So I don't know if you like a sourdough panini, I guess. So yeah, oh yeah, gotta taste that gruyere. It's so delicious, buttery and nutty. Now I've got some raw cheddar here that I get at my local market, and I'm gonna grate that as well because that tastes really good on pressed sandwiches. And my kids must not be home at this point because otherwise they would be up at the counter trying to ask if they could grate that cheese. Now I grabbed some sourdough out of my freezer. You can see it's a little bit crispy on the top and the bottom. I think I forgot to turn my oven down while I was halfway through the baking on this one, and it just got a little crispy, but it's still delicious. So I'm just slicing that up, and this makes really, really good pressed sandwiches. You can just use regular sandwich bread if you want, but look at that. Love some sourdough. And I've sliced enough to feed my whole family, and I'm getting mine and Andrew's sandwiches ready first. I'm doing like the fancy with the sauce, and the kids will have something a little more kid-friendly. You'll see I kind of have to make everything to order because everybody's picky about what they want and what they don't want on their sandwiches. So I'm slathering that flavored mayo on both sides of the sandwich. I laid some cheddar down first, and now I have some spinach that's left over from my egg bake video that I made the other day with the spinach and the Swiss chard. Go check that out if you haven't seen that already. My onions are cooking down nicely, and it's very kind of hands-off. You just go over and stir occasionally. I've got some smoked turkey here that we got at the market, and so you can see all these beautiful layers already. Is just going to be absolutely amazing. And I'm topping it with some of the shredded gruyere, and the boys and the dog are standing around just in case I drop anything. So that's looking really good already, but we're definitely going to press it to make sure it is nice and heated and grilled and gooey, ooey gooey. So I'm also doing the kids' sandwiches here, and I'm going to press those first, but I'm checking out my onions. They look really good and cooked down. Now, it's very interesting because French onion soup traditionally has an alcohol in it, like a dry sherry, but our liquor stores are just so far from me and not in any area where I normally go, so I just didn't feel like going. So I just kind of figured, hey, apple cider might be a good substitute, and it turned out amazing. So I put a couple of spoonfuls of the beef bullion, or better than bullion, in there and just stirred it into the onions, and now I'm dumping in my half still frozen stock, but that will all mix in and melt as I just let that soup simmer. Now I'm gonna get some grilled cheeses going, and I'm gonna cook the kids' grilled cheeses first, and then I'll get the grown-up grilled cheeses next, because selfishly I want my grilled cheese to be really hot, so I do that last. I'm just getting the kids' grilled cheeses, and I'm gonna cover them with some tin foil and then another heavy cast iron pan to press them. And I'm struggling a little bit to find like an even spot to put that lid, the cast iron lid on, because the kids' sandwiches are a little bit uneven in terms of like their height. Some people wanted turkey, some people didn't, just wanted grilled cheese. I'm just tasting the soup here.
Oh my God, it is so good.
I was so excited about how good it tasted, and I just added a little bit more of the beef bouillon because I felt like it could have a little more depth of flavor, but oh my gosh, it was so delicious. And even my son, who is the most picky eater in the entire world, gives it 2 thumbs up. He ate it, the entire family ate it. I could not believe it. I mean, onion soup. Now I will say, I did have to strain the onions. So when I ladled the soup in for my 2 boys, they asked me for no onions. So they wanted the onion soup with no onions, which I kind of get. Like when I was a kid, I did not eat the onions or the bread, actually. I just had the broth and the cheese. But it was actually pretty simple. I just put like a small fine mesh strainer over their bowls and then just ladled the soup in. So I've got now the grown-up grilled cheeses going. Now I took them out halfway through and threw in some extra butter. That's what I do on our grown-up grilled cheeses because I want butter on both sides. I put those back, and I just have my heat on kind of like a medium low because you want it to go kind of low and slow so the middle can get nice and nice and hot. And I plated up the kids' soups. I do little bowls for them, and I'm putting croutons in all of them except Camden only wanted 1 crouton, which was really funny, and some gruyere on top. And all the kids have very specific orders. That's Camden's. He was a little reluctant about the soup at first, but you'll see in a minute that he goes crazy over the soup. And I think he got like 3 refills in his little bowl there and was just going nuts over it. So lots of croutons in there and lots of Gruyere cheese. What I like to do, there he's going for his refill with extra cheese. And what I like to do with the French onion soup is my first order of business is to eat it so that I eat all of the croutons and cheese off. And then I dip, look at that grilled cheese or those pressed sandwiches. And then I dip those pressed sandwiches into the French onion soup and just go to town on the rest of it. But oh my gosh, you guys, this came out so delicious. Please make this French onion soup. I will put the recipe down below, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you make it. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.